Okay, this is Aaron again with Exalted Lamb 1, and I have another video here. Man, it's taken a few days to put this stuff together. Also, right after this last one, I was just really asking the Lord, like normal, but really asking for, insight on what's going on here. Really, what is the deal? Why do a lot of people Christians that are following this and that are looking for the Lord's return. They're looking at the clues that He's leaving, looking at the clues in the world, looking at the clues God's leaving, all those kind of things. Why is why do things line up and then they don't? Or why do things start heating up and then they don't? And then several things start happening and then it cools down, and then things start happening and it cools down. And each time it looks like something, there's things built upon each other. And so he's really answered me, I think, this week. And so I'm very thankful for that. And my main thing has always been, like I've explained in a lot of my videos, is there's the light side of the coin. So really, about almost 3.5 years ago, my journey started with the Lord basically waking me up to the signs and things that He was showing. And then at some point, he said, "Well, do you want to know the dark side of the coin?" And this is the first time I used that term. And I'm like, and immediately I was a little bit, scared slightly. I was like, I don't know, I don't really like the dark stuff. I never have. I prefer to get into the Word and teach and, learn and walk with the Lord and, and all that kind of stuff. I've never really, in fact, I've said this at different times in my videos, I've never been really keen on people talking about eschatology and all that stuff. A lot of them in the past, I've seen for years them go off the deep end and just do crazy stuff and kind of act really weird and bizarre. And every other year it's martial law, different stuff like that. I was never really into that. But the Lord has really put it on my heart that this is important to Him, and He's given me these dreams and visions and things. So when He started saying, "Do you want to learn the dark side of the coin?" At first I was like, no, and I kind of avoided it for a little bit, and then I finally went back to Him and said, "Okay, Lord, I trust You." And then He started revealing so much, and my videos have ended up being mostly dark side of the coin. There's some things with signs and stuff that God's doing as well, and His numbers. It's weird because a lot of things that God's doing um, behind the scenes and in signs and everything, the enemy is ripping off, and so it's really God's numbers, but the enemy's taking them and using them for his own. So I might not share every single parallel there, but I want you to know that what He's doing, what God's doing, ultimately, the enemy is ripping off. So most of it's all God's anyway. So the enemy's just making his own in his own religion, in his own ways, and all God's numbers and numbering, numerology and everything is all being stolen and ripped off and counterfeited by the enemy. So one of the things that this week has really shown me, the Lord has really shown me that I've asked for, is that the enemy has created a maze. Okay, he's created a maze on purpose. Okay, in this maze, there is a path to the end. So people have said to me, "Oh, how can you trust these things?" and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of them because people have said these dates and all that kind of stuff, and they haven't happened and for years and years and all that stuff. Um, but there's been a maze created of information, numbers, and I mean all kinds of evidence all over the place, and there's been patterns formed. If you think of all these little twists and turns that you see here as patterns, in a maze, and then they lead somewhere. These patterns lead somewhere, and then they ultimately, most of them lead to a dead end. But on those paths, they do point to the actual way through. So you can backtrack and then find the right path, and you'll keep hitting dead ends at times, but you just can't give up. You got to keep going. But each path, if this makes sense, hopefully this makes sense. Each path even though it may dead end, has information. And so, see, God's way of doing things is He would give you information enough to keep you on His path. It's not this. I tried to find a good path graphic, and I couldn't find one I was happy with. So I'm gonna have to just explain it. So a path that goes backwards, goes side to side, up and down, through valleys, mountaintops, through hard stuff, a lot of hard stuff. Good, has peaks, valleys. It just goes all over the place. That is the Lord's path. That is the Lord's path, and most people, first of all, don't take it. Second of all, if they do take it, they get to a point where it's very hard. I call it, if I would write a book, I'd call it the Gauntlet of God, because it's a gauntlet. It's very difficult. There's a lot of trials and tribulations and things, and that's why I believe the Bible says that the bride of Christ will not go through the tribulation, and I'm going to talk about that, because the tribulation they've already gone through it. Me and my family, we've gone through tribulations for years, and some of the toughest stuff that most people would not even deal with. We've had many people say, how can you do that? Or I couldn't do what you're doing. And I mean, without getting into all this, all the details and everything right now, and I've talked about some of it in my videos, but it's been very difficult. And His path requires us to trust Him. He does miracles on this path. It's hard. It's challenging. It's the hardest stuff you'll ever do. It's heart work. It's working on your heart. It's healing. It's massive trust and faith in God in the times when it looks like you have nothing. It's devastating sometimes, but He brings you through. Even if it's just by a thread, He brings you through. If you just keep going forward, and He gets you out of the storm, and then there's a clearing, and it's whoa. And then next thing you know, that trial that you were in, it makes you better. You'll never return to that funkiness that you had in your heart, and that hardness that you had in your heart, and the problems you were dealing with. They melt away, and it's totally worth it. And then you go to the next thing. And the Lord says, now it's the time for this, and you just take one at a time, and it's a path. But this is the enemy's maze, and so He has a time that's coming where it's He's going to bring the Antichrist, going to birth the Antichrist, and he's going to rule the world for a short time, and he's going to hunt Christians down and all kinds of stuff. And like I said, I believe the bride will be leaving, and then the rest of Christianity will be left, because they do not follow Jesus on His path, the path I was talking about. But He wants people to be stuck in the maze and give up. And that's what it's all about. And then He can steal your crown, as the Bible says. He can steal your birthright. He can steal, kill, and destroy you. And He's happy because He did something to God's heart through you, if He's successful. And so, because there's been so many people that have, in the world's eyes, failed, and maybe they said, hey, this is going to happen at this date and all that kind of stuff, or whatever it might be, having to do with eschatology and all that, recently, in the past, whatever. But all these things, what these people were following were clues. They were following evidence, and a lot of times God gave them clues, but they assumed too much. And I've assumed too much hundreds and hundreds of times. That's part of growing up. If you don't do that, then you don't go anywhere. If you don't risk, you don't get the reward. If you don't fail, you don't succeed. All those things. It's just the way it is. So I wanted to hit this up front because, listen, there is a path through all this, but it's very difficult to find when will be the time. There will be a time coming soon. And I'm going to, again, each time I'm presenting evidence and what I think the next one might be, and I'm hoping to get all the way through the maze. And you be the judge. Like I've always said, you be the judge of that. I'm not saying I know the exact time and everything, but I'm saying that a lot of things that come each time are compelling, and along the way we're learning, we're growing, and I hope in all my videos you learn stuff, and then hopefully you use that, especially my brothers and sisters and anybody else who will listen, you learn stuff along the way, and you learn how this stuff works, and and there'll be some times when something doesn't happen. I mean, every time for me it hurts me to some degree. But you know what? That's just what the Lord has asked for us to do. He's asked for us to watch. He's asked for us to look for these signs and expect his return. And anyway, I'm gonna get into a little bit of that. But so this maze is fraught with dead ends, and so the dead ends are patterns that are actually designed. They're put in there and they're real, but they point to the actual information, the person who's the Antichrist, the day of the tribulation starting, all this kind of stuff. So it's all in all these messages. So, which I've shown in a lot of my videos. This is something, like I mentioned in the last video, this is a key, I believe, a master key that was given to Colleen Minter. And other people have got different keys as well, different codes, different numbers. And I'm using some numbers on this. One of my big things is numbers. I have a lot of other things, and I've studied a lot of other things. But on some of these things, numbers are very important because numbers, they're codes, they're pieces of the puzzle. And so this is some kind of master key. And so whatever the time is, it has to do with 711117. And I think I understand it to some degree, but I think it has to hit the different codes. So this is a master key. I believe I've also been given a master key, which is 923. And it's not only when I realized over time that it was that they were wanting to go from the bottom of the pyramid to the top of the pyramid, 9T03, but it's also a date, and it's super hidden. Okay, and I believe I found it, but time will tell. And the Lord said, America will be laid low at this time. That is the end of the maze. That is the very end. That's the way through the maze. Okay, that time, that attack time when America is laid low. And then he's brought me, like I've shared before as well, extra clues, extra support in different ways. Now, I've got to build the rest of the pieces of the puzzle. And so I do that with walking with the Lord the best I know, the best I can do. And guess what? I'm not going to have every thought, every clue, everything perfectly in line, perfectly put together. It's just not, that's not how it works, especially with eschatology, especially with the end times information, because it's purposefully hidden, and they're purposeful being, the Lord's purposeful in making it breadcrumbs, because of a number of reasons. I've talked about some of it, but we can't know all of it for a number of reasons. I'm not going to get into all that. And so I want to touch on what his purposes are, okay, and what, the Lord has separated people by their faith, by their trust in him. Okay, I don't have up here Romans 8:17, but it basically says that that God has, if we're believers, or we're sons of God, we're co-heirs, or we're heirs of God, and then we're co-heirs with Christ if, that's a big if we fellowship in his sufferings. And so that shows me two different groups. Okay, and so if you read in Revelation 2 and 3, those are the 7 churches, and I believe they're prophetic of the future types of Christians. And that's what I believe the Lord showed me. And one of the things, the big things he's shown me is that, and many other people, many other believers, I've found that they know this as well, especially the ones who've been looking for his coming. They understand this truth, that Revelation 2 and 3 are about the 7 churches, and they represent 7 types of Christians. And so he says about the Philadelphian church, which is one of the churches, which is the more faithful church, I know your works. See, I have set before you an open door that no one can shut. For you have a little strength. You have kept my word and have not denied my name. And so those are some of the qualifications for being, saved from this hour that's coming. And so then he continues. I skipped this verse in between because it doesn't matter about the synagogue of Satan. Since you have, as far as what I'm sharing about right now, since you have kept my command to endure patiently, I will also keep you from the hour of trial that is going to come upon the whole world to test those who live upon the earth. And this is what we're all talking about. There's many more scriptures I could pull out, and I'm not going to. It's kind of funny. The more scriptures I pull out, the more stuff I pull out, which I could do. The Lord doesn't want me to very much, because there's tons of arguing that goes on. It's crazy. When I just talk about the dark side of the coin, there's not that much arguing. I mean, people go argue with me and go, I don't believe that, and you're crazy and everything. But when it comes to the word and putting out more details about the truths that I believe he's showing me and everything, people argue back and forth, and there's massive big threads sometimes on YouTube and comments. And Lord just doesn't want me to be involved in that. He wants me to hit this area for some reason, and that's part of it. That's part of the reason. So it's important that this is the Philadelphian church he's addressing. Again, I know your works. See, I have set before you an open door, and no one can shut it. For you have a little strength. Now you have a little strength. Now that is key. When I saw this a couple of years ago, and it really keyed into me. I'd read it several times in the past, but when I really hit it, and I was going through, my wife and I and my family, we were homeless, and we had little strength. We had very little strength, and then we had to rely on Jesus 100%, and many times. But that time had no strength, and we kept His word, and we did not deny His name, and we kept asking, and He kept showing us, He kept providing. Miracle after miracle after miracle, and that's been going on for many years. But since you have kept my command to endure patiently, now this is very important. So his commands or his patient endurance. So this is very important because, the more mature Christian in life is the one who endures his patient words. So he'll say, like, for example, people most of the time, Christians just do whatever they want. But he'll say, no, don't do that. Wait on me. Wait on the next thing. And that's, in fact, what I'm doing with these videos. I'm waiting on the next thing for him to show me. And so it takes days sometimes. I'm praying, I'm asking, I'm thinking, and he won't give me something for a little bit sometimes, or he's waiting for something, or I'm not ready yet, or, I mean, there's a number of reasons for that. But so he said he wants us to endure patiently, and then he gives us those rewards, and he gives us those understandings that we need as we go to him and we ask of him and we trust him. And then as we trust, he releases this information. He releases the goodness. He releases the awesome stuff that we get. Instead of going our own way and us missing out on those things and doing it by our own strength instead of the grace that he's provided. Man, I could talk about that for hours, and I'm not going to. So because of this, enduring patiently and following him and knowing him, it said, I will also keep you from the hour of trial that's going to come upon the whole world. So basically, when it comes to the seven churches, this is basically the kind of, in a nutshell, the issues that they're dealing with. So the first one was they lost their first love. The second one has to do with persecution. The next one is false teaching was a big problem. Sexual sin, they needed to wake up. The Philadelphian church was faithful, and that's the exception. That's the one that will be kept from the tribulation. Okay, the trial is coming to the whole world. And then the Laodicean church was the lukewarm church. And, I could definitely, for a lot of Christians that I've known, I could put them in the Laodicean church. And it's important that people understand that Jesus is really interested in our long-term profit. And our short-term is sometimes people want to do what they want to do, and it's not beneficial. He's interested in long-term profit, not just in this life, in the next life. And so people aren't ready to do that a lot of times. They just want to do what they want to do, and it's not beneficial, unfortunately. God has a different plan than we would have, and it's for our good, but it requires a lot from us. What was required of Jesus? To be exalted above all? A lot. What was required of Paul? To be exalted as much as he was? A lot. I mean, if you're going to get a lot from God, a lot is going to be required. Too much is given, much is required. It's just the way it goes. So if you give very little and you sacrifice very little, you're going to get very little. That's just the way it goes. That's the whole, that's basically the spiritual law there. So in Matthew 25, what I believe also is happening, the Lord showed us when we were kind of up against some stuff, some things were happening, and then they kind of cooled down for a little bit. not going to go into all the details on that, but he said Matthew 25 about the virgins, the 5 foolish and 5 wise virgins. They are to separate the Philadelphian church, and some others as well, but it was really a focus on another separation. So if you go back and look at this, so a majority, if you think about just roughly 7 different churches, representing 7 different types of Christians, roughly you look at all of Christianity in a sense, are actually Christian, not the ones who are not, but the ones who are actually Christian. 1 out of 7 is pretty small, and I think it's probably even smaller than that, but that's kind of a representation. And then out of the faithful ones who knew he was coming, who were watching for the bridegroom to come, out of those 10, those are split in half. So I believe that's even another. And it's because he was delayed. So I believe his coming, the appointment of his coming, was probably the Revelation 12 sign. And they knew, a lot of Christians knew he was coming, or maybe even the end times or something that's happened in the last 3 years or 4 years or whatever. And then a lot of people have fallen off. I mean, I can't think, it's amazing the difference between what 2015, in the fall of 2015 was like, and then in the fall of 2017 with the Revelation 12 sign and all the hype from 2015 and then 2017, and then now we got 2018. It is so quiet because a lot of people have fallen off, because a lot of people have gotten disappointed. A lot of people got trapped in those maze dead ends, and they gave up. And that's exactly what the enemy wanted to do. He wanted to steal, kill, and destroy, and he's being successful, unfortunately. And so I'm here to say to all you that are fighting, and even maybe some of you have given up, don't give up. There's still time. Get back in the fight. Get back in and watch for the Lord's appearing. Get back close to him. Start talking to him again, and because he's coming, and we will be taken off this planet very, very soon. This is grace upon grace that we're still here. And so, yes, it's tough sometimes when these things haven't happened yet. But you know what? Every time I look at it as a positive, it's got to be, because that's God's will. God has something in mind, and he's bringing more people closer to him. And so I say, fine, you know what? So be it. Let God be who God is, and let me be who I am, and I will follow I will follow his lead. So the wise virgins knew him, and they had the oil in their lamps. And I believe that oil is faith and trust. It's trusting him. And when they trimmed their wicks, that was they were taking off the crud from their lives, so their faith can wick up and burn bright. There's nothing like faith that burns bright, that pure trust in the Lord. And it's tough sometimes. It really is. But the Lord understands the toughness of that. But he doesn't want lukewarm. He doesn't want all these different things. He doesn't want you to lose your first love of him. All those things. And so he gives us little clues, and then we do our best to follow. And sometimes he gives us dreams, visions, all kinds of stuff to help us along the way, because it is very tough and it's fraught with danger, this path. Okay, so I'm moving forward here. So again, in Revelation, this is the next thing I want to talk about. Revelation 3, 17 and 18. For you say that I am rich. And I'm thinking about a lot of Christians are rich, especially American Christians. I have prospered. I need nothing, not realizing that you are wretched, pitiful, poor, blind, and naked. So Jesus says, I counsel you to buy from me gold refined by fire, so that you may be rich, white garments, so that you may clothe yourself, and shame of your nakedness may not be seen, and salve to anoint your eyes, so that you may see. Okay? Now, you remember with the virgins, the wise virgins said, hey, go buy more oil, because they didn't have faith. They didn't trust. They weren't close to the Lord. Go buy it. Well, who's the one you're buying it from? Well, he says right here, I buy from me. Now he's talking about gold, and he's talking about raiment or clothing. He's talking about salve. He's talking about different things. So you can actually be in him, knowing him. And how do you buy it from him? You hang out with him. You get to know him. You go through trials with him. That's how it works. That's how you become gold, silver, or precious stones, like the Bible says. Not wood, hay, and stubble. Look that up. There's also 5 crowns that come from different things that we do. I could have put that in here as well. I just don't want to go into too much of this, but I want to make a point here that the whole point of all this is that we walk with the Lord Jesus Christ and know him. And the ones who do, whether you believe it or not, and listen, I'm not asking you to believe any of this. I'm just telling you right now so you can so I can put a bug in your ear, put some understanding in you a little bit. You don't have to believe any of this. In fact, I know most won't. But when this starts happening, and then hopefully you see it before we leave, the bride of Christ leaves, because that's what the Bible says in many, many places. But if you don't, there's another bus to heaven, in a sense. There's another chance. God is the God of second chances, third chances, fourth chances. It's crazy how merciful he is. So I'm putting this out there before you, whether you believe in him or not. And when the bride of Christ, which is a few amount of Christians that are faithful all across the world, leave and disappear, then you'll know what happened and come to the Lord. And I hope you do before that. I hope some of this evidence I'm showing you wakes you up. Okay, so as I've talked about before, November is Nov, or Novem is Latin, okay, meaning 9. And so back hundreds of years ago, I think it was like 45 BC, something like that. It changed from the first of the year being in March. The Roman Empire changed it from being in March to being January 1st. And so the November was the 9th month because Novem means 9, but it was changed because they added January and February to be in the 11th month, and December was the 12th month and all that. But December's deck is 10 and all that. So that's part of this code of 923 or 923 is this information, this understanding. Okay, the next thing I wanted to get into, which I've talked about in another video, is that we're dealing with, I believe, what may be the Julian calendar and not the Gregorian calendar when all this stuff starts happening. And what they're pointing to in all these movies and all this stuff, the 923 and all these other ones, the A113 and all that. So in September of 1752, we were forced, in a sense, to change the calendar. And as you see here in September, it's kind of funny in September because of that 9 and Nov. But Tuesday, look at the first and the second, Tuesday and Wednesday of September there, the first and the second, then it jumped to the 14th, and we moved to the Gregorian calendar, and we skipped 12 days. Then they claim because of the cycles of the moon and sun and all that, and it was more accurate, okay? Well, I've done some research on this and kind of figured out what the actual Julian calendar day is. So if you look at the top here, the Julian year was 365.25 days. And then the Gregorian year was a little bit less. The Gregorian year is 365.2425 days. And so the difference at that time, remember we're looking at that time was in 1752 was when it changed. It changed by 12 days. And so the difference, so that means the Julian calendar year is longer and the Gregorian year is shorter. So over time, from 2018, right here, if you look at right here, from 2018 to, if you minus 1752 from 2018, you get over these last 266 years, there's a difference, and the Julian calendar has caught up a bit. Well, how much? Well, if you take the 365.25 days on the Julian calendar and you minus the 365.2425 a year, then you get 0.0075 per year. And then you times that by how many years since that happened in 1752, and you get, wow, look at that. Look how close it is, 1.995 days, almost 2 full days. So the Julian calendar is only behind the Gregorian calendar now. It was 12 days. Now it's only 10 days, almost exactly by 0.005. Okay, so in summation here, the Gregorian is on, so let me say it this way. So if we're talking about 11/21, which I am, and I'm going to get into here, 11/21, which is the day before Thanksgiving on Gregorian, equals 11/11 on the Julian calendar. 10 days off. 10 days behind is the Julian. Okay, so 11:11. It's crazy. Okay, there's a lot of things pointing to 11:11, and also I want to say it again. So on the Julian calendar, 11:11, and the second 11 and 11:11 is 1 plus 1, so that's 9:2. And I've talked about this so many times in my videos. If you haven't seen my other videos, watch the last maybe 3, 4, 5, whatever, and maybe all the iPad Go 2 solved and all that kind of stuff too. But so it's 9:2 because of course Nova is 9 in Latin. So 11:11 is also 9:2, and these are all these codes. But there's reason for this. This has got to hit all these numbers. Okay, so 9:2. I'm going to show more here, more evidence of this, but I've shown it so many times of 9:2 in so many things. It's pretty crazy. And then the next day is 11:12, and of course 1 and 2 is 3, so that's 11:3 or 9:3, which is also a code in movies, many movies. And it's not just, it's a cover story that was a room for these different directors and stuff when they first started doing art and stuff like that. So it's not true. They basically put this in to code this attack day, which is 11/3, which is November 3rd, which is really because it just passed. It's got to be 11. Well, not got to be, but this is what my summation is. This is what my hypothesis is, that it's 11/12. 1 plus 2 equals 3. So that's what A113 comes from, or 9:3. So we have 9:2 and 9:3, and together they're 9:2:3 because it's over 2 days. It's the same moment over 2 days, or two different time zones. Okay, so the Gregorian calendar, which is actually going to be November 20th and November 22nd, which November 22nd, of course, is Thanksgiving. Okay, and then I'm going to also talk about the 23rd. So we're going to be talking about the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, which are very important, I think. Okay, so you remember when YouTube went down, and I talked about this. YouTube went down, and it wasn't by chance. This stuff doesn't go down. It was a message, and I thought it was a 30-day warning, even though it kind of pointed to a number of things, and I won't get into all that, but there was definitely some validity to what I said. It was one of those paths in that maze, but it did show a lot of other things, and it did work out. It did work out mathematically on the 30-day thing, which is crazy. But so, like I said before, October was 10, and then 16th is that, and I said it before, it's upside down and backwards. That 6 is a 9, and then you take that out to 0, and it's 911 or 92, and that was pointing to the day of 9/2. Okay, and then check this out. We just had this. A lot of you don't know about this because not everybody went through it, but Facebook had an outage. Okay, Facebook had an outage on the 12th, a couple days ago, when I'm doing this video, November 12th, and about 50% of Americans had the outage for about 2.5 hours, or about 65% of the world had the Facebook outage. And again, this is probably also to get ready for some of the things that the UN has control over the internet and all that kind of stuff too. But it's a message. The day they did is a message. So it is November 12th, or again 9/3. So November 12th is also 9, Nov. 1 plus 2 is 3. Right here. So November 1 plus 2 is 3. So 9/3. So we have 9/2. And we have 9/3, because these are related to each other. These are two of the biggest social platforms on the internet. And so we have an example of an outage on 9/2, an example of an outage on their code 9/3. That's pretty crazy. Or also, look at this. So this is the year, which is 2 plus 1 plus 8 is 11, and then you have 3 p.m., so it's 11/3 as well. I mean, they do this stuff all over the place. It's pretty crazy. So again, we have those two examples of 9/2 and 9/3 in 11/11 and 11/12, or 9/2 or 9/11 and 9/3 or 9/12. So this is pretty crazy. Let me get into this next thing about 11/11 as well. So the Anthem Veterans Memorial are these big pillars that are in Anthem, Arizona. And it's just so happens to be in the Phoenix area. Not a coincidence. But these pillars represent the 5 branches of the military, supposedly. And the sun's at 11:11 on 11:11 is supposed to shine through these holes and light up the, the Great Seal, or the seal of the United States, right? Well, what I found is these all have, as far as how tall they are, they're in feet. The first one's 6 feet, and the next one's 9.75 feet, and the next one's 11.5 feet, and the next one's 14.25 feet, and the last one's 17 feet. Well, 6 is the number of the world, and so that is substantial. And then the last one is 17, which is the number of victory, and it's been 17 years since 9/11, and they're going to the next 9/11. And so it's 17 years ago from this year. It was the first 9/11. So this year is going to be the next 9/11, which is going to destroy the country. And it's not a coincidence. The last one is 17 feet tall. Plus, if you add all these numbers together, you get 17. Don't take the points, because the points don't matter, unless sometimes the points matter as far as segmenting and showing a date or something. But in this situation, you add them all up and it equals 17, no matter how you add them. I mean, in fact, you can add up the total. You can add up, for example, where it says 8 point, you can say 14, you can add 14 to 25. It's crazy how that works. Or you add up each individual number and all total 17, which is pretty crazy. So this was on 11/11 and 11/11 that this shined through here, and it just happened on last 11/11 on November 11th. But what is it pointing to? Well, it's pointing to a number of things. It's pointing to the Armistice Day, at the end of World War I, and a lot of people talked about this. When I'm talking about, sorry, I'm having a little problem with my throat here because anyway. But if you look at this, there's 5 pillars, and then you look at a 6th pillar in shadow. The 6th pillar in shadow, which is talking about what's coming. It is the shadow that's going to be on the whole earth in the tribulation. So, of course, these people have their messaging. There's a cover story, and then there's a real story. There's what they show to the public, and then there's what is really going on. And so I'm going to try to prove some of this stuff. So it just so happens that basically they're so-called commemorating the end of World War I, which just, I mean, think about this. What's the chance that World War I ended on the 11th day, the 11th month, and then they signed this on the 11th hour? No, this is all planned. I mean, are you serious? Are you serious? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? No, I don't think so. This is not by chance. This is pointing to something, because these wars were planned. And just like the Third World War is planned, it's about to happen soon, on this actual day we're talking about. And so it just so happens that when they signed this thing, it was in Paris on the 11th and 11 a.m. in Paris, which just so happens to be, the hours I've been talking about are 9 p.m. Hawaii time, or just after, like it shows on Jkbugout. I'm going to get into Jkbugout stuff, more Jkbugout stuff, a little bit in this video, but more in the next video. And I'm going to re-talk about the different times. The 9 p.m., just after 9 p.m. Hawaii time, because that's where that tsunami is going to happen, start in Hawaii and then go across and hit the West Coast. And then a little after 3 a.m., I'm just guessing it's going to be 9/11, because they like 11s. They like the 9/11, they like the 3/11, So 9/11 in Hawaii time, which is the same moment but 6 hours later on time zone, is 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm going to just guess that it's going to be 9/11 and 3/11, because both are after those hours. And then it just so happens to be, it's going to be based on if it was after 9/11 or after 9 and after 3, it's going to be after 9 in Paris. So if the 11 was the minutes, it's going to be 9/11, 3/11, 9/11 in Paris, if that makes sense. That is crazy. So that's what this is pointing to, I believe. It's pointing to it's going to be 9/39 or 9/11, 3/11, 9/11 if I have those 11s right, but it's going to be sometime after those hours. I'm guessing on the 11s. I'm saying that several times, but anyway, so that is going to be in shadow on that day, whatever that day is, which is going to be on a 9/2 or a 9/11. Okay, the second one. So this seal, okay, as I've shown before, it has been put out there as, the 13 colonies and all this stuff, but it's really, each symbol that you see really has a nefarious, real purpose behind it. For example, like I've shared before, this is the star of Rapham, okay, or Ronfam, however you want to say it. But I'm showing you here in Acts. It says in Acts in the Bible, Acts 7:43, it says, "You took up the tent of Moloch and the star of your god Rapham, and the images that you made to worship, and I will send you to exile beyond Babylon." It's kind of crazy because I believe we're the mystery Babylon. But there's Molech right there in the middle of this star. And then here's the star. Now, right here, you draw it right here. You got this star, right there, and you got that star right there. And then you have a star right in the middle. I didn't draw it that great because it's hard for me to draw off the screen like this. But so you have the star of Rapham right there, the two triangles, one upside down, one right side up. And then you have the star in the middle, which makes the 13th star. Okay, does that make sense? Hopefully it does. And then there's so much symbolism. I mean, all these 13s, like I mentioned before, 13 is rebellion or apostasy, and it's about this time that's coming. And again, on the other side of the dollar bill is announcing the birth of the new world order, or the new order of the ages, is what it's really talking about. And this one says, from many, one, and that's what we're talking about. From many people, one world government, one world religion. And this is not an eagle. This is really, because of this thing here and some other things, this is really a phoenix. And like I said before, look at over here. This is in Anthem, Phoenix, or Anthem, Arizona, which is in the Phoenix area. Okay? Are you kidding me? Do you get this? Do you understand that this is in Phoenix area, Phoenix, Arizona, and this is representing a phoenix? This is not a chance that this is in Phoenix area. Okay, so here's the god Molech, and then this is a sacrifice given to Molech, this child, for example. This is another example of Molech right here, in the star of Rampham, however you say it. Okay, so this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to go from the bottom of the pyramid to the top of the pyramid, to go from 9 to 3, and I've talked about this many times. Okay, so this is what this is lighting up, because that means that's the beginning of it. Well, of course, nothing happened on 11/11, but it's showing a future 11/11, which is encoded. And also, what was shown, 100 years ago, well, almost exactly on 11/11 was 100 years ago, was the 11/11 at 11. So that's crazy. So Anthem, Arizona, in gematria, English gematria. Now, if you're watching this video for the first time, gematria is a code that English is basically founded on, and then you have Jewish gematria. There's also even Hebrew gematria. Jewish gematria. There's Hebrew gematria, and then you also have this Greek as well. But so in English gematria, which is what our English is based on, all numbers have all letters have a number equivalent to them. You basically have what equals Anthem, Arizona. It just so happens to equal October 10th and dollar collapse and order of Thelema. Now you go like, okay, what does that mean? Well, let me start with this. The order of Thelema. Now, order of Thelema is Aleister Crowley, and he is part of this group as well. He's another branch of this belief in this new world order. He's the patron saint of rock stars. And if you've listened to any rock music or anything over the years, from the Beatles to the, anybody like that, they've all followed Aleister Crowley. And he believed in going from the eye of the triangle to Lucifer, basically. And there's the 9-3. Look at that, 9-3. And look, there's the eye in the triangle and all that. There's so much going on there. And that's the order of Thelema, or the OTO. I'm not going to get into all that right now, but it also points to October 10th and the dollar collapse. Okay, so what is that? Well, that refers back to the Economist magazine. Again, this is all code. They speak in codes, which are numbers, which is our English language is based on numbers. All the letters have a number equivalent to them. So, and so remember, 1010 is when we had the stock market plummet, like the third most in history. But there's even a bigger code here. So if you basically take this one says 10, so that you can actually write this as 10, and then you have another 10 here. but then they don't count the zeros. So you look at 1 and 1, so that's 11, and then you look at the year, and that's 2 plus 1 plus 8 is 11, 11. 11, 11. Let me write it over here. 11, 11. It's pointing to 11, 11, and that's what this is pointing to. Dollar collapse, and October 10th is this right here, and it's 11, 11. Okay, so it's pointing to, and this is what my, what I'm deducing here by what I see, what I know, all this stuff. Okay, you don't have to believe it or not, but I'm going to show you. I'm showing you a lot of evidence, and you can take it however you want. Okay, but this is back 30 years ago, right here. The Economist magazine said that goodbye to all these currencies, and there's going to be a world currency, and then it shows 2018 as the year. And I've said this in Jkbugout that 2018 is the last year. It only shows 2017 and 2018. And originally, I got that understanding from Jkbugout and his understanding that that Jkbugout was a timeline. Now I'm going to hit a little bit of Jkbugout, but not much on this video. I'm going to hit a lot more in the next video and go through a lot more and why I think there is a 10th month showing in 2018 in Jkbugout. Okay, I thought it went to the 9th month, but now I found several places where it shows, I believe, a 10th month. And then the timeline runs out. And this shows 2018 is the year. Okay, this is all planned. Whether you see it or not, you'll find it out pretty soon, actually. Okay, another thing, this whole thing about the military going down to the border and this migrant caravan and everything, they called it initially Operation Faithful Patriot. And then they took away that name, and then they just called it something basic. But this was like a military operation. They give a name for it, Operation Faithful Patriot. Well, immediately when I saw that, I was like, okay, that's gematria. A lot of things, a lot of weird phrases and stuff that they use and things like this. Some are more out of place than others, and they're obvious to me that they're gematria, and so I just check it out. So Operation Faithful Patriot is 1145, and it just what I found is they just use that for the number. So it's 1145 in gematria, which is, look at 4 and 5 is 9, and 1 is 11. 911. Okay, are you kidding me? So this migrant caravan is bringing on, when it gets here, and there's going to be stuff that happens. I don't know the exact time, but I think it's going to hit the dates I'm going to be talking about possibly, and it ends up being 9/11. Are you kidding? And then if you just take, because they've said Faithful Patriot many times, it's called Operation Faithful Patriot, or Faithful Patriot, which is crazy because you have to be able to do it like this, and then it shows you two different things. So here it is. Faithful Patriot is 921092. Okay, so you can use the 1 as a slash, which they do sometimes, or you can just use the 92, and then look up there, the top one, 92 or 911. 1 plus 1 is 2. The chance of that happening is slim to none. It is such big odds, it's crazy. And then it just so happens to match 1092 in English gematria of Hour of Judgment. Okay, so if it was just this, just this Operation Faithful Patriot and Faithful Patriot, it's still a big, the numbers are crazy, but we're adding thing after thing after thing to this, and 9/2s and 9/11s and stuff everywhere. So these patterns just stack one on top of each other, and then the chance gets just astronomical. If you understand probabilities and all that stuff, if you have any understanding of that whatsoever, have any idea of how hard this is to have all this stuff come to these dates, it's impossible. Here's another thing. So the migrant caravan that I was talking about, which they made this Operation Faithful Patriot go down, these military go down and wait at the border, basically. Migrant caravan is another gematria name, and it's used, look it up, put in migrant caravan, and that is the phrase that all the media uses. Migrant caravan, migrant caravan, migrant caravan, migrant caravan. I mean, it's ridiculous. And that shows me that is a gematria phrase. But anyway, it's based on CNN, what they said, even though a lot of it's fake news, and some of this is fake news, but these things are happening. We don't know all the details of how it formed and all this stuff, and it was all organized by George Soros, there's a lot of stuff going on if you've looked into this at all. But what I can gather, it was started on October 13th. So you go from October 13th to November 11th, because we're talking about November 11th. November 11th is another code for the actual day that we're talking about, when this is going to happen. November 11th, again, the difference between October 13th and November 11th is 29 days. And imagine that. Backwards, it's 9-2. Okay, we're just seeing this stuff all the time. So this is when it started, and this is when, this is basically the date we're looking at as one of the codes. And again, here we go, migrant caravan. Then look at the top one here. We have, remember how the other one was 10-9-2? Remember this one? Look over here. Look at this. Operation Faithful Patriot. Look at the bottom one. Was 10-9-2. And this completely relates to migrant caravan because that's the troops are being sent down there. So we have 9-2. Remember I said in the beginning, I said 9-2 and 9-3. So we have 9-2. And then here we go. We have migrant caravan and we have 9-3. The 9-3 I was talking about. And these are directly related to each other. I mean, again, we're looking at freakish numbers here. Probabilities are freakish. So understand that. And if you don't understand that, I don't know what to say. And then look at this 852 here, this migrant caravan down here in English gematria is, just so happens to match President Obama and supplanter. And supplanter is one who wrongfully or illegally seizes and holds the place of another. Okay, and so what I've said many times is Obama is going to supplant Trump. And it's in the numbers all over the place. I'm going to show you more where that is. I've said it in a lot of places. Trump is all over in gematria for a lot of these things. 8-8, 8-8-8, and everything. It's just crazy. Which means, godly numbers means other things, but I'm just talking about this right now. It also matches, the 852 also matches 42, which biblically is one of the numbers that is recognized by the Antichrist. And the reason why 42 is identified as the Antichrist is one of his numbers, 1666, and those other numbers is 42, is because the Antichrist will initially be over the world for 42 months, which will be for the first 3.5 years of the tribulation, and then there'll be another 42 months. So, and then that's how that works. So 42 is directly related to the Antichrist, which I've shown many, many times. I have over 150 solid pieces of evidence why Barack Obama is the Antichrist, and I will show you some of that here. Okay, he is Barack Obama, lightning falling from heaven, which is in Hebrew. I mean, to me, that is one of the biggest indictments for Barack Obama ever, and there's far more than that are huge. And I've shared a lot of this in my videos if you've seen them. Okay, look at this. So we have November 11th because it's a key day, and 11/11 is a key time, which also means 9/11. So we're looking for the second 9/11. And so if you go from November 11th to -888, which is Donald J. Trump, and again, Donald J. Trump is related to Obama so many different ways. In all these different things in gematria, he keeps popping up, and Barack Obama keeps popping up, and all these things are in media and everything. And here's another example. If you take Donald Trump's number 888 and you subtract it, which is also a tremendous godly number, it means it's Jesus' number as well. A form of Jesus' number, I think, is Jesus Christ, maybe, or it's several different names for Jesus. But if you take 888 from 11/11, you get Monday, June 6, 2016, which happens to work out to be 666 in a sense, okay, in a form, it's 666, and they love these numbers. So it just so happens to work out to 666, and then that day, June 6, 2016, Barack Obama hosts Denver Broncos at White House, and then they give him, of course, a Denver Broncos jersey, and has his name in 44. And look at this article, Mark Matthews, June 6, 2016, at 2:19 p.m., which is code backwards for 9/2. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, these numbers just don't lie. They just keep happening. They keep happening. They're all over the place. I have so many things I can't even put in these videos because there's just so many. I just try to find the biggest ones I can find, and I just don't have the time to put all this stuff together. I've taken days to do this. And I have far more I'm going to be getting into this next video, but I have to release this to you before maybe stuff starts happening, or just so you know something's going on and I get some information out to you. But look, Jesus here is 444 and Lucifer is 444, And look, Obama is the 44th president. And look at Trump. Just Trump is in simple gematria is 8-8. So you see the relationship here to Obama and Trump? Obama is 4-4 and Trump is 8-8. So look at that. Just look at that right there. Just the last name, Obama. And they're showing this in messaging here. Okay, look at that jersey, Obama, 4-4. Then look at Trump down there. Trump, basic gematria is 8-8. Do you see the relationship here? I hope you do, because it's bizarre. And then you minus 888 from November 11th, and you get this day. And then this article, which is in code with for the time, is 9-2. I mean, 9-2 is 11-11. 9 is November. 11, the second 11 is 2. 1 plus 1 is 2. I mean, it goes in these circles. Again, these are these little paths that go to nowhere in a sense, because if you think that if you thought November 11th was the day, which I thought it was a very good possibility at the time, but I was looking at completing it into this next day set of dates. I'm telling you, when I did my last video, then you're at a dead end, because 11/11 2018 on the Gregorian calendar already happened, and this stuff didn't happen. But it's a bigger message. That's what I'm trying to show you. It's a bigger message to something bigger, and it's pointing to the real path to the end of the maze. Okay, now let's get to this. Okay, Pantone colors. Oh, we're going to do something different here. I used to be a graphic designer. I went to school for graphic design actually, and I did it for a little while. And I did, freelance stuff for years. I did logos and different stuff, and so I was schooled and all that. Pantone colors, if you don't know, they are 1,000 colors. Here's a Pantone color bridge, and it shows all the different Pantone colors. Basically, 1,000 colors in the rainbow, in a sense. I mean, all these different colors available. When you go to print something, if you're a designer, and then your client says, "Hey, I want this particular color on the Pantone," then you include that in the printing information, and then they'll maybe get that exact color print ink to use on the printing of this if a client wants a specific color or several colors. So anyway, Pantone, this is crazy how this is working. So Pantone color of the year for last year, 2017, it's called Greenery 15-0343. Okay, whatever, right? But check this out. So now let's go. Remember when I talked about in one of my last videos, a couple of videos ago, that purple is Obama's favorite color. In fact, several reporters have said that. In fact, it says on the bottom here in the President's Radio YouTube address yesterday. At the time, we noticed that Obama was once again wearing a purple tie. It seems that purple is the president's favorite. And then here in a Newsweek article, seeing purple, a rising star who wants to get beyond blue versus red or blend them together, which is blue and red is purple. And you see him wearing this purple tie, and Miss Obama was in articles about her all the time she wore purple. And then you have the purple African lily symbolizes Obama's Kenyan heritage, so-called, right? And then here's Obama as a Jedi with a purple sword or a purple lightsaber, right? Well, purple, okay. Why is that a big deal? Well, purple is, like I mentioned in one of my videos as well, that same video, purple is the color for royalty. And he knows he's royalty. He believes he's royalty. But check this out. And so does the world. Okay. Here's 923. Okay. And of course that's 92 and 93. 923, like I've showed you before in these previous slides. But 923 backwards. And look, this is a TV show, and they're in a hall, and it's purple. And then I shared this with, here's a movie which it relates to Barack Obama. It's a long story, and you got November 2nd, which is 9-2. Again, Nov is 9-2 again. And then here's purple and pink blended together. And again, this represents Barack Obama, the Antichrist as well. And I got into all that already, but it's all over. This purple, it has to do with a lot of things. And then here we go. Here's Jkbugout. I'm just going to talk a little bit about Jkbugout, a couple little spots here, but I got a lot more going on in the next video. So here are these 12 figures behind Lily, the character, and those 12 figures in the back represent 2017. Each character is a month in 2017, and then she represents the fall or the apple dropping or the ball dropping starting 2018. And I've talked about that in many of my videos and stuff, and I got that understanding, a lot of this understanding from Jkbugout. I'm going to have a link to his channel here on this video, so you can check out any of his stuff as well. And I've kind of gone a different direction than him, of course, but I thank him for setting all the groundwork and a lot of the stuff that I know and I've come from. In fact, one of the things he said was, and he found was, this is Trump right here. See, this is Trump. So when he sits down, this is what JK saw and found out. His hands are in a triangle shape all the time when he sits down. In fact, he's got pictures of him. And look, there's Trump's very famous hair part right here. This is Trump. This is a president. One thing I found, and one guy, I can't remember his name, and I apologize, but he was a guy that was in comments, and we kind of worked together to find out who some of these people were. He said originally these people are presidents, and it blew me away, and I immediately knew he was right. And so I want to ask you, if you, any of you that are watching, I'm going to show you some of the presidents I think they are. And if any of these other ones you think there's some, give me some evidence for you thinking that they're a particular president. But this guy said that right here, this is just as Carter, because he's got a yin yang symbol on his head, and it's kind of like his hairline as well. But he had a cat named Yin Yang. Okay, and then here's more stuff. So over here is Kennedy, I believe, and if we have other evidence. There's a hole in his head, unfortunately. And then there's shoes, because Kennedy had this thing, it's called the 50-mile JFK run or something like that, and it's been going on since 1963. In fact, it's going on here on the 17th of November, here in a couple days, which is crazy. So I think this is JFK. These are probably the Bushes, because their heads are drawn because they're both Bush, I think. This is crazy. This, I believe, absolutely is that's Reagan. And if you look from the one this, and I don't have the slide here, but if there's a shot where it shows it from the side, it shows more of this wall. But you can see behind Lily, and then he's got a bandage wrapped around his body, and that is when Reagan was shot. And this one particular guy that I was talking to about this, he figured out that must be that. And then I said, oh, and this looks like an alien head, because when Reagan was in front of the UN a few times, he said that the world would come together on if something like aliens came, if we all found out aliens were coming or something like that. And so this is Reagan, I believe. That's Reagan. This is Donald Trump. This is, I believe, is Carter. These are the Bushes. This is Kennedy. And I'm not sure who these are. I'm thinking this might be Nixon possibly, but I don't know. But I know that I know this is Obama right here. This is Obama. And guess what? He has purple. He's the only one with purple, with a big amount of purple right here. And then guess what? Another reason why he's Obama is because he's got this ear. He's known for having these ears, these big ears. And there's one sticking out right there. Obama's got the ears. And there's a number of other reasons I'm not going to get into right now for why he's why that's Obama. So if any of you guys have any suggestions or any understanding about what these other people are, this looks more like the shape of the moon, and then it may be Nixon because we went to the moon during that time. I don't know. And there's an upside down 7, which JK pointed out a while back, but I don't know what that means. If anybody has any idea what these other ones, I believe these are 12 presidents. And I believe a big reason why this guy said, again, I can't remember his name. It's been a while since I've talked to him about this or in comments. He said a big reason because these all follow in their kind of becoming a president. They all are part of I think the rite of Osiris or something like that, and they follow that and they become a president as a symbol of Osiris or something like that. I may be butchering it, but there's a reason why these are all president heads, and they also represent children's heads because those are the 12 Thai boys that were in the cave, and that represents Obama as well. And I've shared some of that as well, so I'm not getting all that. But my main point here is the purple. You got Obama being one of the presidents here. His ear, he's purple. There's other things. Okay, so remember we talked about purple, right? Okay, here's purple again, and then hey, here's Obama with the graduation cap and the purple tassel. Oh, it just so happens to be a purple tassel. I wonder why. And his purple tassel is actually pointing to these different things on the chalkboard as he's moving his head. Oh, he's smiling, he's innocent, and all this stuff, right? No, his purple tassel is pointing to, like, for example, death right there. and the shark sub and everything. This is why the color of the year for Pantone of 2018 is ultraviolet. Wow. Are you getting all this? Now check this out. This freaked me out when I realized this. Now Pantone's color of the year is 2018. Now remember the green one, the greenery of last year started with a 15, so it doesn't even match the year. But look, we've got the year, and look at this. We got 11, 11, 11, 11, 18 right there, pointing to Obama being the Antichrist, the color of ultraviolet. And there's a lot more symbolism in ultraviolet for him having that ultraviolet as being light, ultraviolet light, and all this kind of stuff. I mean, are you kidding? Him being Lucifer going inside him being, remember I said 444 was Lucifer, and then he's number 44th president, and ultraviolet light. I mean, it goes and goes and goes. There's so many levels of symbolism here. It's off the charts. But what are the chances the Pantone color of the year would start with an 18 and then have 1111? I'm sorry, it's off the charts. When the last one was a 15/038 or whatever it was. Okay? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are you following me? Hopefully you are. So there we go. And look, it just happens to be the violet color. Look at that on his tassel. It's not just any purple. It's a lighter violet purple. Ultraviolet. Crazy. All right, so I hope you get some of this idea of this 11/11 thing, because it's about to come. The 11/11, I believe, possibly, very possibly, is on the Julian calendar, which will be 11. So it'll be 11/11 / 11/12, because it's one moment in two different time zones based on iPad Goat and things I've showed. And I'll show that in my next video. So I'm showing you the end of this right now. There's much more to come. There's Obama with this ultraviolet tassel. And I'm just going to share a little bit with you right here, and then I'm going to cut it with this video because I just have so much I had to get out here. And then I got a lot more. Hopefully I can get this next one out to you in a day or two. I don't know, but there's just a lot of information to put together still. But look at him. He is on the bottom window of these 6 windows, which is 623, and that's his date of birth on the Chinese lunar calendar. I've shared that with people before, but which is, again, I'm going to say it one more time. So because we read from left to right, top to bottom, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's in the 6th one first, and then you go to the right, then he's in this row here, which is 1, 2, 2, and then he's in the last row because we're going in order, top to bottom, left to right. So he's in this row is 1, 2, 3, 6, 2, 3, and his date of birth in the Chinese lunar calendar is 623, the 6th month and the 23rd day in the Chinese lunar calendar this year. It's crazy. And then what I'm going to talk about more in the next video, and a lot more things on iPad Go and other crazy things, is look at this. This is, of course, over here to the left is Psalm 23, spray painted on the wall in graffiti art, whatever, right? In this movie. But over here, the reflection is showing J. It looks like a J, and J is the 10th month. Remember, I said I found the 10th month in 2018 in iPad Goat. Well, there's a J, which is the 10th letter of the alphabet. Okay, so there's the 10th month in 2018. Again, Pantone 2018. Again, Economist Magazine 2018. 2018, 2018, 2018 is all over the place. Okay, but out of the J, the 10th month, is the lightning falling from heaven, which is Barack Obama in Hebrew. And then, do I dare say this right now? Yes, there's the Greek letter phi right here, which Obama signs his name like this. Obama with the phi. And I'm going to show you that in the next video, and I got a lot more to show you. So, be ready for the next video when it comes. I hope I get out as soon as possible, but there's a lot of stuff. Man, the 21st and 22nd of November, the 22nd is Thanksgiving. It may be very crazy. And there may be a reason why they call it Black Friday. So anyway, This is all I have at this point. I wanted to get this out, and hopefully you're seeing some of this. But I got a lot more coming. So this is Exalted Lamb 1. Over and out.